Okay, we have 3:00. I'm calling this meeting of the Ed Services Subcommittee, July 14th, to order. We have present Sam O'Neill and myself, Dan Voltner, as subcommittee members of Ed Services, Lori Huffman, and also present Jenny Borst and Sarah Tarpley. Sarah. Okay, Oudenhoven.
We're gonna get lessons.
Oh, the old home. Old home, is that what that is in German? Old.
Oh, I don't know. It's Dutch.
Dutch? Oh, you.
Oh, it's Dutch.
It's
Oh.
open. Yeah, it's Dutch.
It's probably also old home in Dutch.
Okay, all
I'll look it up.
right, let's start over.
All right.
So, Sam, I'm gonna start with you. I know you have something to talk about here.
I just wanted to meet and go over some of the materials that we use in the classroom,
Sure.
as well as the materials that we have maybe for teaching or for guidance for teachers. When it comes to career planning, specifically in the areas of citizenship, how that's defined and how that's taught, as well as the social emotional learning aspect of the career planning job.
Awesome. My answers are pretty easy. So when it comes to citizenship, it's not really explicitly taught like a pull out with ACP. That is something done within like our social studies department in preparation for the civics exam.
Sure.
And as regards to like social emotional learning, same. So I'm on the Watertown High School website. And if you scroll down where we have those blue buttons, and you click on academic career planning, it'll lead you to, I think, 4 different links. And the first one is our ACP website. And so on this district website, this is anybody in the public can access this, but there are some features that only students in our programming and educators that have their at mywc.org can access through Zello. So when it comes to Zello links, like these wouldn't work for out of the district, but the extra resources that we've shared with teachers, and we have done some professional development in regards to how, like ideas if teachers want to embed this within maybe an ELT or within their own classrooms. So these, this link would take you to the Zello website, again, accessible by anybody, and they have some ideas of how you can incorporate lessons within different subject areas. So if you were like, let's say a math teacher and you're kind of thinking, what is math relevancy or careers related to math? They have PDFs here of different activities, lesson plans that range from like 2 to 3 minutes if they just want to see like a video on different math heavy or focused careers, all the way to like 45-minute lesson plans. And then when we're thinking about ACP specific, at the high school level, I mentioned how we embed a lot of those within our financial literacy as well as our health sciences classes. But this is, again, accessible to anybody. The lessons by grade level. So we have 612. The way that Zello works is you have to assign a grade level different lessons. So this is just what the state is suggesting Zello is suggesting as grade level, and we have moved them around. Like sometimes we're like, oh, we're actually talking more about this in 7th grade or in 9th grade. So in the high school level, we actually make all lessons accessible to all students at any time. We find that sometimes there are organic happenings within a classroom and a teacher might be reminded of a lesson that's in here and want students to access it, but if they're not assigned at that specific grade level, they might not have access, so that's why we do that. So the one lesson I thought of that was kind of social emotional skills, remember when I talked about at the last meeting, it's about like communication, eye contact, those types of social emotional skills we're focused on in ACP. So this is a lesson example of work-life balance, having seniors think about, okay, once I'm starting to be in the world of work, how do I balance that out with other parts of my life? So it kind of gives you a summary of the lesson, some discussion prompts, vocab, and then they give you that full lesson. And it's really easy to click on, and they will break it down. Again, they have recommendations of grade level, and then you can go into the different activities. It's just like a very verbose lesson plan. So when the student goes through it, and I'm not gonna log on to Zello because then you can access the student information. But it's prompted and it looks a little bit nicer than, you know, what lesson plans look like for teachers. So those are where you would find those lessons.
Sure.
So those can be done by individual students through Zello, or they can be taught by a classroom teacher?
So we do have some lessons that are we felt like are more aligned with our financial literacy class, some that are better aligned with our health, and then if there are some that maybe aren't falling into those. So what's kind of interesting with academic career planning is it's everybody. Even though I'm here speaking to you today, every educator is involved in academic career planning. And so, yes, this is accessible to students at any time. They actually can have it up to 5 years after they graduate. Other districts and Zello will say to students, hey, enter in your personal email to have access to this after you graduate. Our district, a benefit to our students is the way that we changed our emails for students, they'll have them forever. So like they'll have access with their same email, so they don't even have to put in their personal email if they don't want to. So up to 5 years after they graduate, they'll have access to that, which is, I think, very smart, because if you're thinking, okay, maybe a student wants to go through an apprenticeship, sometimes it takes 4 or 5 years to do that, or maybe they're planning on getting a bachelor's degree in something, then after that 4th year, that 5th year, they can continue to use this.
Sure. So you don't have any actual set, outside of Zello, you don't really have a set of curricula that you use for?
No, it's ongoing based on like needs. So we do have, for example, like the career fair would be an academic career planning activity. And we have our students explore our career fair website and look at all of the companies that are coming, make a plan of who to visit, and create a resume. But otherwise, yes, we utilize Zello.
Sure. Okay. And this kind of goes back to part of the reason that I wanted to have this additional meeting and dig a little bit deeper into what resources we're utilizing is because one of the original handouts that was included when we were discussing the academic and career planning subject was the ACP Connections PDF. Well, where did we get that PDF and why was it included for the purposes of our discussion?
So I was asking insight from our directors, and they suggested that that when I'm presenting about academic career planning, because I can be so talky, to really focus on like visuals that would make it easy for people to understand. And that was something I found on the DPI website. And I was like, oh, I think this PDF really shows, okay, these are the components of ACP. This is what we're thinking of. So that's why I chose that document.
And so that's kind of where a lot of those questions came from, because it seems to me that DPI certainly has an interpretation that they run with when they look at the state statutes, when it talks about citizenship and when it talks about social goals. What you're telling me sounds quite different from what's on the DPI website that is being linked in this handout that you're giving us here. And so some of the concerns that I had were just to start with one of them, the subject of global education. DPI says that that Wisconsin has a working definition for global competence and that they're working in cooperation with what's called the Asia Society. And then they have a pretty lengthy document, it's 37 pages long, about global competence in a rapidly changing world. And it seems like there's some pretty strong political leanings in that. And so when I read through some of that, I thought, my oh my, I think that people would want to get a second look if we are incorporating many of these elements into our academic career planning. And if that's spread across all of our academic pursuits for students in the district, I suppose, to what degree do we engage with these resources that DPI is putting out?
If you, I have to filter. I doubt that there are many teachers who'd like to explore the DPI's website for resources. And if they do, it's maybe for trainings or linking to those types of professional developments. But for me, that was a visual that I chose to use because I thought it would show kind of those components pretty easily. And I could understand if you're digging into something and it kind of links and links and links into different things where it could be confusing. But to reassure you, our students, when it comes to academic career planning, if we're thinking about global citizenship, if you remember, I was talking about how we are endorsed as Pathways Wisconsin or Pathways Wisconsin. So to kind of like give you an example of that, advanced manufacturing for our academic career planning website. So I just went under Watertown High School because this can only be at the high school level because it includes college credit and certificates, things like that. So when they're thinking global, I like to utilize this as an example. They're just kind of showing you, this is at the state level. These are some careers and you can click on the links and they'll go to job descriptions, and at the bottom of the chart, it'll show you how the jobs titles that have a little red star, that means that we're seeing an increasing demand in those careers.
Mhm.
And then the one with like the little circle next to it, it shows you that Zello speaks about that career, so you can like dig even deeper using that tool.
Sure.
And then at the bottom, this shows specifically what's going on in our school.
Mhm.
So it lists all the CTE classes that's related to advanced manufacturing, other recommended courses, our CTSO related work-based learning. But here in this industry credential option, and I mentioned this before, our only certificate that we offer currently, and maybe hopefully we could offer more, is the Seal of Biliteracy. That kind of ticks that box, so to speak. So we have our students who are multilingual, who can pass a test to prove that they are biliteral, and then they can utilize that on resumes to help them get jobs, for example.
Sure.
So I have a question.
Go ahead.
So the state statute requires us to teach promoting good citizenship. That's the actual word in the statute.
Mhm.
And global citizenship seems to come out of nowhere. Where does that come from?
I mean, I think you'd have to ask DPI, but this is what I'm interpreting it as
Mhm.
based on my expertise. We are moving forward in a world that we have more connectivity than ever before. So when I am making a phone call, you know, I don't know the details, but something I think goes up to space to a satellite and comes back down. There's a lot of us working together, either directly or behind the scenes in a global capacity. So knowing this, we want to ensure that we prepare our students that they're able to work in a world where you got to be ready to work with all different types of people from like different places. So just as an example for myself, some of these professional development events, I meet people from other countries that show, hey, we teach this way and I can learn things from that. But that doesn't mean I'm explicitly trying to, like in ACP, we aren't teaching civil citizenship, I think was the word used,
It said,
global citizenship.
well, this says global citizenship. The state statute says promoting good citizenship.
Mm.
And the definition I got from AI was civic awareness and responsibility, teaching students about their roles and responsibilities as citizens in a democratic society, including understanding civic institutions, laws, community involvement,
Mhm.
ethical decision-making, workplace and social skills, community engagement. I'm not seeing any of this here. Where are we fulfilling our state statute?
So I appreciate Sarah's deferring to some of the DPI information to ask the questions through DPI. And I do think that like our local website, which Sarah just showed us how to get to, is probably the best source for us to be, if we're asking about our own plan. Lori, I guess if I
Yeah,
could
I'm
ask
asking
you to
about what we do.
clarify.
Yeah.
If you could clarify your question, what is your question again?
So where are we satisfying the requirement from the state statute for promoting good citizenship? Because that's clearly not in the definition of global citizenship. Where is it? Where is our lesson for that?
Oh, so I appreciate the question. And when I asked Sarah to prepare for today, what I asked her to prepare for were sort of things beyond the curriculum that were being taught in other areas. To her point, like when she said like the pieces of that citizenship are coming through in the social studies curriculum as we're preparing students for the state civics exam. So to Sarah's point, there are a lot of things that are being taught that have to do with careers. In fact, her entire class that she teaches about her childcare preparation is not what I asked her to focus on for today. It was more about the specific plan and what we're doing in the like sort of pull out, as she described, plan for ACP. Does that make sense?
So in other words.
Yes and no.
Okay, so in
Sarah
other
will do a
words,
better job.
Yeah, I get what you're
So
saying.
to clarify my question,
Mhm.
okay, I've got this ACP connections
Mhm.
thing here,
Mhm.
right? And earlier, I was watching, I wasn't here at the last meeting, but I was watching it online.
Mhm.
And I noticed that some of these are, to fulfill the requirements of the state statutes,
Mhm.
one of them being good citizenship.
Mhm.
So is this part of the ACP curriculum, or is it like somewhere else?
So let me help explain by defining ACP. Excuse me. So academic career planning is something that we're doing all together. For instance, the student handbook, I would consider a tool and a resource we provide students and families as a guideline of those types of things. Or in our social studies class, teaching about our country and civics for that civics exam. What I help oversee is I essentially audit. Okay, where are we doing these things? We're offering world language, we're offering other classes that can be used outside of just our community, even though I am really focused on promoting economic development in our area. Students could benefit from learning what they're learning in an English class to, those communication skills of writing to some other place in the world. So the globalness might sound like that we have to do something explicit to maybe identify us as an individual from, as a citizen from here, but it's not an ACP lesson that we like have pull-ups and we talk to students specifically about that. That's something that's embedded throughout the day when teachers are, helping students remember, to put phones away or how to be responsible or respectful.
Okay, so
Those
where
types
do
of
we-
things.
Where do we teach students about their roles and responsibility as citizens in a democratic society?
That is not part of my role, so
Okay.
that would have to be a question for, I'm assuming, either Jenny or for a different topic, because it's
Okay.
not explicitly a pullout that we do, since it's
So we're
already.
really not fulfilling the state
No, we
statute
are,
in
it's
here.
just not within the pullouts that I'm responsible for.
Are you saying that it's being fulfilled in other specific classes, that you're more of a coordinator of, you work in cooperation with other classes to incorporate these elements into their classes, and then you focus on the economic development in a sort of local sense and building those hard and
Correct.
soft skills for jobs?
And most of our teachers, they're super experts in their curriculum area,
Mhm.
that they've been doing this before we were legislated to. So that's something that's like within our curriculum already. So it didn't need to be, so even though we're able to check it off, it's not like I have a homeroom day where all students are learning a specific skill set related to that, since it's already done.
And I'm sorry to
No,
interrupt.
it's
So
okay.
I do want to follow up, and I think
Yeah.
that kind of Sam pointed to and Sarah pointed to, perhaps that's a bit outside the scope of what we're discussing today. But I am excited, and I've shared this in the past, that the process that we're going through as far as the curriculum review process and the curriculum guides that we've outlined, I think we'll be able to get to better address the question that you have there. Once we work through the process with our teaching staff and compile those and bring that through the board in the process that we outlined through the policy committee, I think you'll get a better sense
Okay,
of
so it's
those
coming,
pieces.
it's coming.
So it's
Yeah.
coming, and I feel like I wish I could say, like, look right here on our
That's
website.
okay, I
But we
understand.
will get there,
It's
Lori.
okay.
And so
Yeah.
I don't want to go too far outside of the scope of what Sarah was prepared to discuss today. But certainly it's some place that we'll be getting there.
And then getting back to the global citizenship curriculum, according to the DPI, that's laid out by the Aegis Society, which has comes up on Influence Watch as a CCP influenced organization. How much are we using their?
I don't know what CCP is, I'm sorry.
Chinese Communist Party.
Okay.
So,
I'm
So-
using Zello.
okay, and Zello is,
Oh, web,
it's, the link is on here, that's why I'm asking. It's, if you go to Global Citizenship on your connections and you click on the link, you go to the DPI
Yeah.
website.
that,
DPI website says this is where we get our information, and it goes to the Asia Society.
And so, and again, to clarify, the point is not, I'm not coming at you, I'm just curious about what you teach in cooperation with this, because I understand, and this is something that I've talked about a few times over the last year or so. There is what a district does on a local level, there's the guidance that DPI gives, there's the instruction that DPI gives, and there are the statutes. And what we're trying to find out is, where exactly does that influence from DPI come in? To what degree is it followed, and to what degree is it incorporated? Because the phrase critically examining issues such as poverty, trade, migration, inequality, environmental justice, conflict, cultural differences, stereotypes, as well as looking to appreciate different perspectives and worldviews. And then when we're talking about that in cooperation with being willing to act constructively to address issues of sustainability and well-being, these are all phrases that go together, and they typically come from a specific political point of view. And while I'm very happy with helping students to think critically and encouraging them to get a better idea of the world that they live in and learn how to have civil conversations with other people, I think that's incredibly important. I think that sometimes those terms can be used in different ways. Because DPI is promoting a group that is promoting these ideas that, I didn't know about the CCP connection, that's really interesting. Because DPI is promoting that, that's something where we go, whoa, let's be careful. Because it was on the handout that was included in that initial discussion, we wanted to make sure that we weren't bringing things in to kids' career planning that was coming from some of these sources. Because, and it's, I suppose, neither here nor there to talk about DPI's influence on that, but that does not seem like something that people in Watertown would be very happy with having coming down to their kids, especially, again, and this is not about you, but under the guise that DPI has it in, where they say it's career planning, and then all of a sudden we're talking about sustainability and environmental justice, which are all very politically charged ideas.
okay, see, and when I think of that, I think of like forestry, because I'm just like so career focused. I'm like, you have an environmental science class, why would?
Well, environmental justice, though. Are we talking about
I
like
get it
the
now.
trees having their day in court? What are we talking about there? It sounds like feminist reading of glaciology. I think that's what it's called. I read a study once that had that title.
Yeah.
It was very, very curious.
With respect, I understand what you're saying.
Mhm.
And what my response to that is, we are meeting the components that's required by the state for ACP.
Sure.
What they're linking to doesn't necessarily equal what we are doing, and that doesn't mean that those ideas aren't appreciated by other institutions. It's just, this is what we are doing. And to somebody's question at some point, I just wanted to show that under our ACP website, we do show like our staff training, and in April, CISA 6 came in, and there were 9 other school districts that joined, and we came to Watertown Public Library, they came here, and we talked about, hey, this is what we need to do to make sure that we're aligned with our legislation for E4E and ACP. And so during that training, there was no mention of those pieces to us. And so to me, that's why I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I get it, because, and I'm sure people can relate their websites and supporters. I think I saw, like a TikTok ones are like, these are the billionaires who own everything. And you think they're all individual companies. So I get that there's partnerships that I'm not aware of because I'm focused on my students. I'm not really focused on those other pieces. So in regards to us, yes, we're meeting those components. No, we're not using whatever that resource link to this.
Okay, and when we review the curriculum, we'll see what we're actually using, is what you're saying.
Zella, yeah, and
No, I
or-
think you're talking about the broader process of doing the curriculum with you
yeah,
guys.
right.
I think the other
from
piece
class
that,
to class.
yeah, and I think the other piece that I just want to emphasize too is though we may share the PDF from DPI because it's a nice visual, what I would like us to focus on are like the website that Sarah has created. And then as well as what we eventually need to do is approve the plan, which I have linked in there, the Education for Employment Plan. And so I'd certainly, well, I know that like the link to the DPI resource page is there. I would focus in on the pieces that we have included in that as it relates to the approval that we are, I'm not on the big screen anymore. I'm
I know,
sorry.
I was like, do you want
Scrolling
me to-
through it,
how do
you
I
can't
get
see
out?
that. Take a look at those pieces and if we have any questions related to that, because at the end of the day, that is what we're asking for the board to approve. I know we did discuss, having this meeting just for follow-up, which is very much appreciated. And I know at times there's like an urgency to get it approved like that same month with the board. We would be comfortable moving into August if we needed to, if the committee felt like they needed some additional time, if we wanted to bring this to the August Ed Services meeting as well. And we just want to make sure that we're answering your questions about what's happening here in our district and the work that our ACP team has done. And while we appreciate the concerns about the links on DPI and whatnot, to Sarah's point, I don't know that most of our teachers have time during their day to explore the DPI
Respectfully,
website
I hope DPI
for those
doesn't.
pieces. I know I go to the DPI website to answer questions often, but I don't know that our teachers have the same amount of time to do that, so.
Yeah, my concern, I've got the global citizenship when I was in college, they're like,
Oh.
ooh, wow,
Okay.
China's gonna buy our stuff, hey, but the thing that I'm most concerned about is that, average people in town graduating from high school still don't know how our government works. And this legislative requirement, it mandates that we teach our kids how our government works, and we're not getting there. And I'm looking for the missing piece of the puzzle. So, that's, I saw the global citizenship thing and I went down the rabbit hole and I'm like, oh, wow, okay. Not what I was looking for, but that's something to ask about. But I was more interested in what are we teaching? Are we teaching it?
Gotcha,
So,
Yeah.
so that was to my point. And
that makes sense.
maybe not a full discussion for today, but I needed to ask that question somewhere. So,
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep, absolutely, and I do think like that process where we bring forth those pieces, the other piece that I would encourage you to take a peek at, and I can get you a copy too, is the high school graduation, the high school course book, and also like the graduation requirements, so you can kind of take a look at what are the pieces that are required for a student to graduate here from the district, and what courses they're required, and then also I know out there is also the Wisconsin assessment, gosh, now I'm missing the name of it, the high school test that they have to take, civics exam.
Oh, civics exam.
I don't know why that escaped my brain. You can take a peek at that too, and I can get you links to that.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yep.
Both of
And
those.
we are currently going through the process of some social studies updates and revisions. So this is actually a great time to talk about that. We got a little bit of an update from Jenny on the 8th, that morning meeting on the 8th. So that can definitely play in there. And that was the main thing I wanted to clarify was I wanted to see what, if any, kind of material we were using or we were providing as a resource. I think that moving forward, we should be careful about what resources we're providing, both for teachers and for students. Just again, it seems like some of this is fairly loaded. I'm not putting that on you guys specifically. But the
That
Asia
is not
Society
shared, I
packet-
just shared that with you guys, just so you
Gotcha.
FYI, as a visual. The, visual I use a lot of time for teachers and students is those 4 stages that is on the website. So,
Definitely.
yep,
Yeah, no, I think the website looks great and I really appreciate the clarity with that. So yeah, moving forward, as long as we're not promoting, a specific worldview or a specific philosophy,
Gotcha.
that's the main thing. I think, it's really important for schools to truly stay values neutral. And unfortunately, I think that DPI is actually, maybe unintentionally, but it seems like they're pushing a pretty specific philosophy or ideology with some of the resources that they're putting out. So as long as we ensure that we're staying away from that and we're keeping it a values neutral environment, I think that's great. And I think that the work that you're doing as far as helping kids get jobs and making those connections with businesses is really awesome. So thank you. I really do
Oh
appreciate
my
that,
gosh,
Sarah.
yeah. And like I said, it's so many other people. I can't remember. I don't know. Sorry, Lily, if you're watching. Lily, the RMS teacher. How do you say her last name? I can't say it. I think it's French. And it's a very beautiful name that I cannot pronounce. She had mock interviews in her hospitality class this spring, and one of the groups that came in was the Bank of Lake Mills. And from that, they talked to other branches and they reached out to me and are now interested in hiring a youth apprentice. So it's like, there are these things that are happening, like even if there are in pockets, it's connecting us all together and it's so exciting. So yeah, I appreciate your appreciation. And yeah, any other questions you have, feel free to let me know. And then let me know what next steps are.
So yeah, I would recommend that we move it forward for approval at the July board meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. And then a little side conversation. So I've been learning all about the things that you've been doing in academic planning, and it's pretty darn amazing.
Mhm.
How are we promoting that as a district? And you may not be the person to be asking, but I have to start somewhere.
I try to, and if I could have, everybody needs more time and more support, right? But I know Melissa does a really great job. We try Lemke, who helps coordinate our marketing. So whenever our CT teachers or other teachers, like when I had a financial literacy teacher bring in somebody from the bank that they met at a career fair I mentioned last meeting, I emailed that to Melissa. I was like, hey, Melissa, she's coming today. Happen to have free time at like 10 to come in and take a picture of this happening. So those are the ways that we're trying to promote them. And sometimes it's really like on the cuff. And then other times we are planning in advance. Like for instance, each year we recognize our seniors in our youth apprenticeship program with their employers and families. And we do a breakfast recognition. And then that's also shared out with the community. So we try our best to partner with
Do you
her.
have like a website for parents looking at the district and looking for different things?
For
Like a menu, like a parent might want to, a certain apprenticeship program, say in welding, right? And, they're in the area, they're looking for a school, and
Yep.
Do you have that?
Girl, I got you. So on the ACP website, under WHS, you can click on the school to career program. And then this is just like the description and the course guide. But when you click below, we have different, basically I put a lot of different opportunities under school to career. So our youth apprenticeship and cooperative skills is our work-based learning program. And so parents can access this website. I also, during our fall college and career planning night, give a presentation on youth apprenticeship or school to career program, as well as in the spring for all families who are interested. And we share that via our SMORE. But this links directly to our county youth apprenticeship program. And then it's such a great website that our county coordinators put together. But it just shows, hey, students and parents, you're interested in this. How do you get started? There's also a YouTube video that helps explain it that I share with families too, because sometimes websites maybe aren't the easiest to navigate. And then the same, we have an employer-facing site as well. So if employers are looking, they're accessing that way too. And then I post it also on our ACP website, our now hiring board. Not so much during the summer. I will email students who I know are looking for specific jobs. So I even get community members who are needing help with yard work, and I'll put that on there. And I'll specify, okay, some things, aren't qualifying for an apprenticeship per se, but that I do identify if they can qualify for an apprenticeship, and what type of student they're looking for in that position.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, and then we have a physical now hiring board too, because sometimes people don't like websites and kids will see things and then.
And that
One
one
we have them on the
request for next year.
TVs. at
Oh,
the
yeah.
high school.
Oh, yeah,
So
and the
lots
TV.
of hallways, the TVs in the high school will post what jobs are coming, and then it'll flip through which
Right.
jobs
Yes.
are hiring, so that they know what to do
And
who
fun fact,
contact.
those TVs were sponsored by companies that participate in a career fair. So each year I'll like put a little, hey, would you like to sponsor? And that I noticed when I would go into other schools, I'm like, wow, that is a really good communication tool. How come we don't have those? And I thought it would take me years to do. I think it was just 2 years. We got 12 TVs. I was just blown away. And our tech team is awesome too. So they made it
They are.
really easy to navigate. Thanks, Tyler.
And next year, your apprenticeship breakfast can't fall in the same morning as ed services. Because this year we missed out because it was during ed
Yes.
services.
Yes.
So next year, if we can coordinate our meetings better, then our board can come and participate.
Yes.
Because I know that's a huge celebration.
It is so awesome. It's one of my favorite days.
Excellent. Okay, thank you for that clarification. Dan,
So,
about to talk a lot, so you got any thoughts?
well, no, I agree with Lori. I'd like to promote that because I was surprised to hear that other schools were looking at us as exemplary. And we got to promote that. In fact, I'd like to have some sort of posters we could put at every township.
I know. And so I also posted on this website for our staff trainings, just in case you guys didn't know, Fort Atkinson this year reached out to us. They're right underneath us when it comes to enrollments in youth apprenticeship. They got a lot too. But what they wanted to strengthen as a district in is advisory committees. So having industry partners team up with educators. And so they toured our facility this past spring and met with teachers and students, and we had discussions and like, okay, how do you create advisories? How do you ask, like, it's awkward for public educators to ask for money, but when we're having to train students for careers and we need a piece of equipment that's thousands of dollars, we know we can't fund it with our budget, it's those partnerships, and the industry values that because they see we want these kids trained for the job after they come out of school. So yeah, I agree, and I do my best. So yeah, I agree. If we can highlight that
Right.
as much as possible, that'd be awesome.
Very good.
All right, so I'm
Thank you.
hearing move forward with a resolution at the July board meeting, so
Mhm.
we'll have that on there. Sarah may or may not be able to join us virtually that evening, but I will do my best to answer any questions that maybe come up between now and then. And then on my next list is to get Lori some of our materials as it relates to our high school course book and the graduation requirements and a copy of the civics exam as well. Any other action items from this afternoon?
No, I don't think so. A future agenda item, maybe. Just as a note, I think we talked about this previously, but if we could do an update, I think this is more for Sarah, if we could do an update on the behavioral response plan or whatever we're gonna call it, with the schools, I think, I would like to see some detail about maybe like what if we have a standard response to standard behaviors, I don't know, something of that nature. Obviously, everything is taken on a case-by-case basis.
Sure.
But if we have some of that detail, I think that it would be helpful for us as a board to understand where we're going with that. And I think that it would help us to be able to make some moves to help support you guys in doing those things. Does that make sense? Awesome, cool, thank
That
you.
would be good. Okay,
Oh, yeah, that's everything for
are
me.
we really going to adjourn at this time?
We got
It was one item and it was.
I know, but
So,
okay.
Let's not be too impressed.
So we are adjourning this meeting at 3:38 PM.
Okay. Yes, thank you for
Thank
coming in,
you,
guys, I really
Yeah,
appreciate
thanks.
it. Hope you have a good rest of your
Yes, you
summer vacation.
too.
I realize I have to